Dawn broke over Naval Amphibious Base Coronado as the first formation assembled near the combatives pit. Boots crunched against the cold pavement. SEALs stood shoulder to shoulder with Force Recon Marines. A familiar mix of rivalry and unspoken respect in the air. Yet this morning, every gaze kept drifting toward the smallest figure in the lineup, Lieutenant Riley Monroe. At 30, compact and steady, she stood at attention with disciplined calm. Her sleeves were rolled neatly, her posture controlled. She demanded nothing, drew no attention, but somehow that made her an even bigger target. A ripple of laughter drifted from the Marine side. Staff Sergeant Cole Maddox, 33, built like a brick wall, leaned just enough for everyone to hear. "Try not to cry. Princess." The words sparked a ripple through the formation. A few Marines snickered. Some SEALs shifted subtly but said nothing. Riley didn't flinch. Her breathing remained steady, her gaze fixed straight ahead, unaffected. The tension around her was thick, deliberate, and unfair, but everyone knew it. Lieutenant Riley Monroe had been at Coronado barely 2 weeks. Most on base still didn't know what to make of her. Quiet, compact, newly assigned to SEAL Team 3, she carried herself with a calm that didn't match her size. At 5 feet 4 inches in boots, she looked more like supply or medical than someone who had survived Bud-Ez and earned a trident. She blended into the background instinctively, no flashy gear, no extra patches, no hints of her past. To the Marines who didn't know her, that meant paperwork. Inspections, not close-quarters combat. Force Recon was filled with tall, broad fighters, and the culture valued visible strength. Riley, with her soft voice and quiet demeanor, seemed the opposite. When she passed Maddox's squad in the chow hall or on the range, they glanced at her in disbelief, wondering how someone like her belonged in their unit. But the truth lay in subtle signs that only seasoned eyes noticed: a faded wristband on her right arm, precise boot tying identical to high-level CQB instructors, a stillness in her posture, alert, controlled, coiled. Senior SEALs recognized it immediately. Juniors missed it entirely. Master Chief Aaron Holt, 58, a legend who had trained generations of SEALs, noticed from the moment she stepped on the grinder. He watched her breathing before long runs, how she scanned a room without moving her head, how she never tried to impress. That was restraint learned the hard way. Even Captain Marcus Riker, the 46-year-old base commander, took note. Her silence didn't fool him, intrigued him. He'd seen that posture before in those who had nothing to prove, because they had already proven themselves. Where others couldn't imagine, the Marines, however, saw none of this. Staff Sergeant Maddox, loud, confident, and muscular, set the tone early. To him, Riley was an easy target, quiet, unassuming, and unwilling to fight back with words. His squad followed his lead. Corporal Bryce Turner, flashy and showy, smirked whenever she walked past. Lance Corporal Dean Bulldog Harris, built like concrete, grinned at the thought of crushing her. Corporal Mason Clark, a former wrestler, dismissed her entirely. Corporal Tyler Reed, disciplined and technical, watched quietly, but still bought Maddox's narrative. Sergeant Logan Bear Briggs, massive and slow-moving, looked at her with confusion whenever she defied expectations. They all saw the same thing: a woman who kept to herself, never bragged, avoided conflict. Their assumptions about her were all wrong. Riley never corrected them. She had no interest in proving herself. Her reasons for serving ran deeper than rank or reputation. She served to promise one to someone no longer alive. Every run, every drill, every quiet breath before a mission brought her closer to keeping it. The world didn't need to understand. The Marines certainly didn't. Her silence wasn't feared, it was discipline carved from loss, honed through years of knowing when to hold back and when to strike. They mistook her calm for weakness, her quiet for timidity, her size for limitation. They had no idea the smallest person on the field was the one to fear most. The tension didn't fade with time. It sharpened. The Marines watched Riley like a fuse burning, half expecting it to sputter, half expecting an explosion. But Riley gave neither. She showed up, worked, and moved with unbothered stillness the others couldn't fathom. At the firing range, cold winds sweeping across the berm, Riley stepped up. Targets hung 300 yards out. Most shooters adjusted for drift and checked again. Riley exhaled once, emptied her magazine, and every shot hit center massa, perfect score. Some SEALs nodded quietly. Maddox barked a laugh, mocking the results. Targets must have been closer for the princess. His squad chuckled. Riley reset her rifle, expression unchanged. During the ocean swim the next morning, the gap widened. Frigid waves challenged even seasoned swimmers. Riley slipped in without hesitation, cutting through the surf efficiently. Halfway through, she was ahead. She finished minutes before the rest, breathing calmly, while the Marines dragged behind her. Lightweight floats better, Bulldog Harris joked. Turner added, built like a buoy. The squad laughed. Riley didn't respond. She simply moved on. Her wristband briefly revealed to the observant Holt. Killhouse drills followed. Riley's team cleared structures with precision. 0 blue and blue hits, clean breaches, disciplined corner checks. Maddox leaned against a wall, arms crossed. Paper targets don't shoot back. Confidence might disappear when rounds start coming the other way. Marines laughed. SEALs shifted uneasily. Riley holstered her weapon, nodded respectfully to instructors, and walked on unfazed. Maddox intensified his teasing, treating her as entertainment, joking about her size, questioning if she needed help with gear. Younger Marines whispered disbelief. How is she even a SEAL? Is she temporary? None realized their assumptions revealed more about themselves than her. Riley's composure never wavered. Her steady silence frustrated Maddox. He expected defiance or anger, and she offered none. The real test came in the base gym. Operators crowded the mat for mandatory combatives. The instructor, seasoned and scarred, called for volunteers. Before Riley could react, Maddox stepped forward. Lieutenant Monroe will volunteer. The room rippled with surprise. Marines whispered and nudged. The instructor hesitated, sensing Maddox's unnecessary provocation. Turner, flashy and arrogant, became her partner, smirking like a fighter entering an arena. Riley moved forward without hurry or expression, calm under the gaze of a gym full of spectators. SEALs paused drills. The Marines expected humiliation. Riley adjusted her stance, breathed once, and raised her hands. Master Chief Holt observed subtly, heels aligned, shoulders relaxed, chin slightly dropped. It wasn't nervousness. It was the stance of someone who had done this countless times, hiding intention behind stillness. Turner warmed up theatrically, trying to intimidate. Riley didn't mirror him. She simply assessed, calm, precise, and unshaken. As the instructor signaled, Turner launched a wide, showy kick meant to overwhelm. Riley didn't flinch. She stepped inside the spin, slipping beneath his leg, sweeping his ankle, and sending him crashing to the mat. Before he could react, she secured a tight hold, giving him one option: tap or risk injury. The submission landed before the crowd even understood what they had seen. Turner's hands slammed against the mat in panic. The instructor called it. The stopwatch read 17 seconds. Silence fell over the gym. Turner rolled away, stunned, rubbing his arm wide-eyed. Marines blinked, unsure whether to laugh or gasp. SEALs remained frozen. Maddox's confident grin faltered for the first time, confusion seeping through his usual armor of swagger. He quickly recovered, shaking his head as if clearing dust from his ears. Lucky shot, he said loudly. Anyone can get one good sweep. His laugh rang hollow. Turner stayed kneeling, breath uneven, avoiding eye contact. The room wasn't buying it. Everyone saw how clean, technical, and controlled that exchange had been. Maddox stepped forward, frustration simmering. That wasn't fair. That wasn't a real test. His voice rose. Let's make this fair, he said, tone daring, before the instructor could intervene. Master Chief Aaron Holt moved to the center of the mat, calm but eyes sharp. Fair, he repeated. You want fair, Staff Sergeant? Holt let the question hang in the air. Maddox squared his shoulders, expecting a scolding. Instead, Holt turned to Riley, then back to the Marines. Lieutenant Monroe versus your entire squad, he said, listing conditions one by one. Full contact. 2 minutes rest between fights. A ripple of shock and tension ran through the crowd. Turner's head jerked up. Bulldog Harris blinked. Briggs leaned in, narrowing his eyes. Maddox's mouth twitched into a smirk. "You're joking," he said. "I'm not," Holt replied. "You said she got lucky? 6 fights will prove otherwise." Maddox's ego wouldn't allow him to back down. "Fine," he said. "But what's the stake?" Holt didn't hesitate. "If she loses even once, she files a request to transfer out of Naval Special Warfare." The room stirred. Riley didn't react. "If she wins all 6, Holt continued, voice low but firm, "you will stand at Monday formation and apologize to every woman in uniform, clearly stating your rank." Maddox scoffed, but the sound lacked conviction. He looked around. His squad, half the base, all watching. He couldn't retreat without losing face. "Fine," he muttered. "But she won't get past the first." Captain Riker stepped forward, voice sharp. "Staff Sergeant, repeat the terms so there is no misunderstanding." Maddox swallowed once. "If she loses a single fight, she's out. If she wins all 6, I give a public apology. Happy?" Riker turned to Riley, who stood motionless in her quiet stance. "Lieutenant Monroe, do you accept these conditions?" She met his gaze briefly. "Yes, sir." No hesitation, no speech. Just calm acceptance. The gym erupted, not with cheers, but with noise. Voices overlapped, opinions clashed. Marines argued, SEALs shook their heads. Some called it madness, others doubted she would last a minute. A few, very few, said nothing, sensing what the others could not. Training began that night. Holt pushed her harder than most men could endure. He rotated fresh fighters every few minutes, forcing her to stay sharp while exhausted. Riley studied every pattern. Harris dropped his elbow on wide swings. Reed exposed his neck on pivots. Clark's wrestling entries were predictable. Briggs tired faster circling left, and Maddox favored one shoulder from a hidden injury. Riley memorized all of it, preparing for every angle. Late at night, when the gym emptied, she sat alone at the mat's edge, pulling back her sleeve. She touched her worn wristband and slid out a folded note. The handwriting was faded but familiar. She read the line she always returned to. Become the calm no one can break. Signed by someone she missed every day. She pressed the note to her chest, slid it back under the wristband. Hands shaking from fatigue, her mind remained steady. Word spread quickly. By day 3, everyone on base was talking. By day 5, schedules changed so people could watch. By day 6, no one was unaware of her name. By day 7, the exhibition was the most anticipated event Coronado had seen in years. The gym was packed long before the fights began. Every wall, bench, and railing teemed with Marines in desert camis. SEALs in PT gear, and instructors leaning against pillars. A low hum of voices filled the air, tension building like a storm. Lighting cut sharply across the mat. When Riley stepped through the doorway, the noise thinned. She crossed the floor with steady steps, gloves laced tight, shoulders loose, face calm under the weight of what awaited. She climbed into the ring without flourish, without a glance at the crowd. Settling into a stance more meditative than combative, Captain Riker studied her posture, the curl of her fingers. Weight on the balls of her feet, subtle hip angle ready for any strike or takedown. "I've seen that stance before," he murmured. Master Chief Holt nodded quietly. "Of course, but she didn't learn it here." "Then where?" Riker asked, brow tight. "She learned from someone who trained ghosts," Holt replied. "Ghost trainers operators whose careers unfolded in shadows, teaching only those they trusted completely. Their names were classified, remembered only by a few." Riley's wristband caught the light. Her calm, precise stance clicked into place. Riker understood why she never bragged, never reacted to Maddox's taunts, why her silence carried weight. Respect settled across his face, quiet but unmistakable. The room, sensing it, grew silent. Marines who had laughed earlier now watched closely. SEALs who had long suspected her skill finally saw confirmation, Even Maddox's squad went quiet, their confidence faltering. Anticipation thickened the air. Riley lifted her chin, breathed calmly, hands settling into ready position. Complete silence fell. For the first time at Coronado, no one underestimated her, not because they knew her story, because the truth radiated from her. Turner entered the ring, sweating not from exertion but nerves. The bell rang. He charged recklessly, throwing a high kick meant to intimidate. Riley slipped beneath it with fluid ease, hooking her foot behind his heel, pressing into his hip. Turner crashed to the mat. Riley flowed over him, twisted his arm, and ended the fight in 8 seconds. Gasps, curses, and stunned silence swept the gym. Next, Bulldog Harris. Strength met technique. He lunged with wide hooks. Riley ducked, let his momentum carry him forward, then locked a choke that forced him down. Clark, the wrestler, attacked with technical scrambles. Riley rolled, shifted, mounted, and forced a technical knockout. Tyler Reed tested her balance with precise strikes. Riley countered with a triangle choke, ending the fight instantly. Sergeant Briggs, massive and patient, tried to wear her down. Riley endured, timed her moment, and executed a flying armbar, forcing a tap. Finally, Maddox entered, confidence restored. His first punch snapped against her cheek, another split her lip. Riley staggered, vision blurred. Holt's voice cut through. Use what you know, not what they expect. Riley steadied, used his momentum, swept him, climbed, and locked in a choke. Exhaustion and technique combined. Maddox's frantic movements slowed to stillness. The referee grabbed Riley's shoulder. He was out. The gym erupted. Maddox, blinking up at her, felt realization replace anger. Captain Riker stepped forward and, in front of hundreds, raised a crisp salute. Silence fell. The gesture spoke volumes. 3 days later, the entire base assembled on the parade ground. Maddox stepped onto the platform, dress blues immaculate, jaw steady. I was wrong, he began, stunning the formation. I judged Lieutenant Riley Monroe before I knew her. I mocked her, doubted her, treated her like she didn't belong. She proved me wrong in every way a leader can be proven wrong. She answered disrespect with discipline, skill, and strength I was too proud to see. Lieutenant Monroe is the example I should have followed. I am grateful she showed me real leadership. He turned to Riley, saluted. She returned it with calm precision. The ranks held their breath. Riker dismissed them, but many stayed, processing the display. Maddox approached Riley. No excuses. No words to soften the past. Just a nod and, quietly, thank you. Riley did not gloat. She said only, we all carry our own battles. Some shout to be heard, some make noise to mask strength. The quiet endure, disciplined, respecting rather than retaliating. They carry a power most never see until a moment like this. Riley Monroe never tried to prove anything. She stood, endured, worked, and let truth reveal itself when it mattered. Real strength doesn't shout. It stands, endures, and proves itself through action. Courage is sometimes found in small frames, steady breaths, and calm that never breaks. That day, Riley Monroe reminded the base that true strength is measured not by size or volume, but by character, endurance, and the quiet choice to rise above disrespect. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe for more veteran stories keeping courage alive for generations.